What's up, guys? Racking the whatever here, and yes, this will be my redo. As I said in my last video, I'm making a redo to it because I kind of lost motivation in that one, changing it up a lot more. Instead of making it like a whole harem, I'm not gonna do that at all. Make it like one ship. Deku X a certain some person. I'm gonna get straight into it now. A little backstory before we get into the actual story. 1,000 years ago, there was a man that did have quirks, but he turned out to be evil. And because he had quirks, everyone thought that a man with quirks, well, that's the legend that's been passed down to every child born, or every child that has quirks, which is all females, that all men with quirks are always going to be evil. But that's not the point. Well, it is. It pretty much is the point. So I'm going to get straight into it. Now, we look at a green-haired woman by the name of Inko Midoriya giving birth to a boy. And when he comes out, things around him start to shake and float like that. And the doctors are thinking that this is Inko Midoriya's quirk, so they're not really taking much notice of it. And now I'm not going to give Deku a random power. I'm going to give him a genetic power, or passed down through his heritage power. It's going to be his mother's quirk, telekinesis. But it's going to be overwhelmingly strong. So whenever the birthing's done and everything hits the floor, as the young baby boy is now sleeping, Inko's confused because she realized she had full control over her quirk. There's no way she lost control or anything like that. So she's confused and puzzled. This is whenever she finally gets to take her baby home after a day of him being born. He didn't wake up for that entire day. He stayed asleep. Don't ask why. Just really don't. He stayed asleep. Now, once she took him home, and she started to care for him and things like that, and then this, she noticed that things around him would float, things like that. So she took him to a quirk doctor after 5 years. And over these 5 years, he's grown a little bit smarter than he is in canon whenever he was 5, so he knows about things like that. He does get bullied at school for being quirkless. Well, not quirk, I couldn't say quirkless. I could say because he's a boy. And nobody really likes the boys, but Inko, well, that's the whole thing. Men, whenever they're born, could either be sold or kept. Most men are sold, sadly. But Inko, being the best mom, decided to keep her child. But she did really want a girl. So over these 5 years, Deku has already met Hatsuka Bakugo, Shota Todoroki, because why not? He's met those two and those two only. Now these two would bully him, but not like abusive bully. More like they'll throw a slick comment towards him every time they see him, but they won't repeatedly throw them. Now, over time, Deku has noticed his own powers. And he's noticed that he doesn't know how to control them, but he knows when it happens, he has like a tingling. So, as Inko Midoriya takes him to the quirk doctor, and when she gets there, the doctor's like, I don't even want to waste my time examining this kid. It's a boy. He's not going to have a quirk. Because the doctor is a male. Because doctors can be whoever they want. We'll see why only a female could be a doctor. So, and he finally budges after like 30 minutes of convincing. And he comes back in the rooms with papers with complete utter shock and somewhat of a worried look. Now, this is a worried look for many reasons. Main reason being the legend. As he takes Inko into another room And he's already called cops about this in the news and everything like that about this. And whenever they finally get into the room, this is when he tells Inko that her son has a quirk, and it's a very strong telekinesis quirk. Inko's stunned and says, "What do you mean he has a quirk? I noticed some things, but I didn't expect it to be a quirk." He says, "Yes, ma'am, well, it is a quirk. And the police, as well as a lot of news areas, are already on their way to check the boy out." Now, as they get there, news articles are all over him, showing him that he's scared because he doesn't know what's going on at all. And this is when police officers show up as they're asking Nico Midoriya if they can take him into their custody and take care of him that way. Inko says why, and he says, "Haven't you heard of the legend 1,000 years ago that a male was born with this quirk? Well, with a quirk, and he was destroying the world, bent on its destruction." Inko, knowing the legend, and is like hesitant, but says she wants to keep Izuku. And just so y'all know, of course, the person that was born 1,000 years ago with a quirk is none other than All For One. And we all know All For One is immortal. Let's be real. He don't fucking die. And that will come into someplace else. Now, as they return home, and they've always got police around their house, so nobody tries to take the young Izuku Midoriya. But whenever he goes to school, he's not watched, because there's teachers there and things like that, so they don't feel the need to watch him at school. But ever since he was told to have a quirk, now everybody's keeping their distance from him and shunning him, calling him a monster, a villain, things like that and that and this. Todoroki, Yashota, and Kasuga act normal. They still sling slick comments towards them every time they walk by. They don't really keep their distance from them because they're not scared of them. They have quirks, so of course they can defend themselves. Things like that. We're going to skip 10 years. So around the start of the anime. Now, over these 10 years, he has been bullied constantly. Very, very long terms of bullying, physical bullying. And again, over this time, his mother changed. She's became, whenever she first time, before he had a quirk, she was loving and caring. Now she's less of that. Not like she's mean or anything, it's just that she doesn't show as much as love and affection. She shows more concern. And is sometimes scared of Izuku. Him being 15 has already figured out how to use his quirk and has pretty much mastered it. But he still wants it to be stronger. He has the urge to make his quirk stronger. He doesn't know why, but he wants a stronger power. But again, over these 10 years, he slowly started to feel hatred towards the world. He just hates being treated like a villain. And they always told him that he could never be a hero, and he's starting to believe that, slowly but surely. He's starting to believe that he can't be a hero. And as he was doing, his eyes would sometimes flicker red. And he would get thoughts of becoming a villain instead of a hero. Then he'd snap back into it and think, oh, I should still be a hero. But these were starting to happen more frequently. Around the 10-year mark, one of his eyes turned red permanently. So he always walks around with a little eye patch covering one eye. And at school, they still pick on him, things like that. Kasuga and Shoto have noticed this small but change. It's a small, but to them it was a big change. But they don't approach him about it or anything. Give me a quick second. So, again, he hasn't been attacked by the sludge villain because the sludge villain, plot reasons. Sludge villain incident didn't happen. Kasuga wasn't attacked, nothing happened. None of the sludge villain happened. So, All Might has decided to make her way over to the Midoriya residence to speak to young Midoriya and talk to him about certain things. Izuku's heard about this from his mother, and he is hyped about it because All Might is his role model. Now, we look at All Might when she gets there. Now, she's inside the Midoriya residence in her buffed up form. All for One and her haven't had that scrap yet. She isn't injured at all. She just isn't injured. Let's just say that. She's not injured. She still will have a fight with All for One and possibly get injured. No. As she arrived and Izuku comes in from the house from school, a couple bruises on his cheeks, bruises on his arms and things like that. All Might questioning this, and he just says he fell down the stairs at school and he had to go to the nurse and things like that. All Might buying this because she's a dumbass. I'm going to be honest, she's a dumbass. So she buys this. Inko knowing it's a lie. And the first thing Izuku says after that was, Miss All Might, since I'm a man and I have a quirk, is it possible for me to become a hero? Miss All Might saying very crushingly, no, it's not. Now you may be wondering why she said no, it's not. Because she has a grudge against men with quirks. Because of course we all know Nana Shimura was killed by All for One. You should know that by now, honestly. So she has that grudge against them, and she believes that all men with quirks will be nothing but villains. And so Izuku busts out in tears. And he runs up to his room. And he's looking at the roof. Well, Inko is looking at Miss All Might. Well, not Miss All Might. All Might with such a disgust look on her face. And she walks away, and as he's walking away, she says, and you call yourself the #1 hero? Honestly. She goes up to talk to her son. All Might shocked by her words. And starts to think, did that boy ever do anything to me? No. All for One did. But he was a man with a quirk. Now we're going to cut back to Izuku, who was in his room crying, while Inko's knocking on the door. While he's in his room, he's getting even more of these premonitions of wanting to become a villain. Then in an instant, his eyes shot dark red. He felt such a stream of bloodlust. It's not enough bloodlust for everyone to feel it, because he has it suppressed at the moment, but it's enough bloodlust for him to know what he wants. And his right eye, which wasn't red, finally turned completely red. Now, as Inko's on the outside banging on the door, asking Izuku to open up, Miss All Might comes up to ask to speak with the Izuku again. And all they hear out of nowhere is a glass shattering. And Miss All Might quickly breaks down the door as they see Izuku Midoriya flying away using telekinesis. Now, Miss All Might tries to catch up to him, but he just turned around. And the first thing she noticed that his right eye was red. And he smashed her into the ground, causing a massive crater in the city. Not enough to destroy several buildings, but enough to destroy an entire block. Now this injured her a bit, because it broke a couple bones, but these were fixable injuries. They weren't permanent. So Izuku ran off. Now this wasn't known to anybody other than All Might, the police officers, Principal Nezu, and other people. Other people you may be asking? This being a special force that works underneath the government. I wouldn't call it the FBI, or something like that, but they were trained to kill. But instead of being told to kill Izuku Midoriya, they were told to capture him. Which probably won't happen. But we're going to look at Izuku, who has a sinister look on his face as he starts laughing to himself as he's flying away. He's just laughing. This damn world. I'll destroy it! As he does that, he sends a blast of air straight into the ground, destroying an entire city. Now, he's already out of Tokyo City, and he just had this random city in Japan. He's completely destroyed it, killing everybody inside of it. Now, a day later, it being Monday, Izuku's not at school. Nobody really cares because, he missed one day of school. It's fine. Now, during this day, they have already broadcast what happened to an entire city to everyone in the entire world. But they don't say who caused it because they don't know. So then another day goes by, and they're still searching for Izuku, but they're keeping it hidden because if villains find out that the boy with a quirk has gone missing, they'll try and hunt him down and take him from the goodish people, from the heroes, and make him a villain, which he already is. Another day goes by. Now you may be asking what Izuku's doing at the time. He's just wandering around, doing his thing. Another day goes by. He's not at school. Now people are starting to notice but not care. Another day goes by. It's Wednesday. Now people are starting to get concerned about the fact that, something could have happened to the villain. And then they scoff off and say, who the hell cares about the stupid villain anyway? Shota and Kasuka are the ones that are actually truly worried, but they're still not chalking up to anything other than the fact, he's just sick. 2 days go by. It's Friday. Now they're concerned to the point they're going to go to the Midoriya household. They get there, and when they knock on the door, and when the door opens, they see a crying Inko Midoriya, as they both ask, "Miss Midoriya, what's wrong?" She just falls to her knees. She says, "It's Izuku. He ran away." Crying her eyes out. They both look at each other completely shocked. Because it's not like they hated him. It was more or less they thought of him as a potential friend. Well, one of them thought of it as something more. And if y'all can guess, that's cool. But this is not going to be the part where the ship comes out. Heads up on that. Now, we're going to look at Izuku, who is on a rampage. He's just going around killing everybody he sees. Now, he's killed over 3,000 people. From wiping out the entire city was about 2,684 people. That means he's been around killing 300 people at least with telekinesis powers. It doesn't matter if they're villains, they're heroes, or they're just civilians. He's just killing them all. As he's always mumbling that he'll destroy the world. But soon his rampage came to an end when he decided to finally go take a sleep and rest. So he flew up to more or less went down into the ocean, but used telekinesis to secure him a little place to sleep for the night. He's still being looked for and nobody has a lead. But this is when some of the police investigators and things like that are starting to piece some things together over the killings that have been going on. They find that there is no stab wounds, no gunshots, no nothing other than they die. It seemed like their body was crushed internally. As they start to remember, the only male with the quirk ran away. And he had a telekinesis quirk. As they start to piece it together, as they give Inko a call, while everything's going on with her and Kasuka and Shota, she gets the call and she puts it on speaker, unknowingly what's going to be said. And she says, "Hello?" She says, "Inko Midoriya, we have some bad news." She says, "What? What's the bad news?" "The bad news is your son is as he grits his teeth, He says, villain. Shota and Kasuga are both utterly shocked, completely devastated. Kasuga is traumatized by those words right there. Shook her to her core. As a couple weeks go by, they still haven't been able to find him. He stopped killing at this point. He started to control his newfound bloodlust, his newfound hate for the world. Now, Katsuka and Shota have already gotten into the UA, Class 1A, and they're friends, best friends actually. I know Todoroki's not an edgelord in this one, but they're both antisocial towards other people because they find that everybody that talks about Izuku is just a jerk because of what happened because of everybody. Now, we're going to do the UA, not entrance exams, but rather the UA quirk assessment test. As we see Kasuga Bakugo and Shota Todoroki, Kasuga gets to throw first because she got the highest score. We're going on a complete rampage, destroying all the robots with hate and anger, as she does with her terrorist act. But she's not as jerky. She's still that, she'll throw a comment at you and things like that. But she's friendly towards Todoroki and people that she knows pretty well. So we look at them at their entrance exam as we see a shadowy figure standing on the top of a utility building next to the quirk assessment area. As Kasuga goes to throw, she throws it as she would have got 750 meters. As the ball would almost start to dip, it just shoots off forward. No one noticed this but Aizawa. Aizawa confused for a second as he silently erases her quirk and notice that the ball just keeps going and going and going. As he erases the entire class quirks, and the ball just kept going and going. As finally it left the atmosphere and then stopped. As the miles per hour, or meters, my bad, would say infinite. As everyone's cheering her, this is when Aizawa just doesn't say anything. Todoroki's turn. She throws it, same thing happens. This leaving the one and only Aizawa, Miss Aizawa, confused as fuck. Like, completely confused. As we move on to the UA USJ. As we get to the USJ, as they've already started their whole assessment things, and this is when a rather peculiar shadowy figure breaks through the roof of the USJ, coming down, floating there, the cloak not moving at all. And then finally the figure decides to land. Miss Aizawa, noticing this figure, erasing the quirk as it continues to walk forward. She's thinking that this figure doesn't have a quirk, so she deactivates her. Then all of a sudden she's knocked unconscious. And then everything around the figure would start to swirl and move and just start slinging things everywhere. So finally, everything around exploded, sending shrapnel and things like that everywhere. And this injuring a lot of the students. Maybe wondering, where's 13? 13 was hit by a shrapnel piece that went straight through her chest, killing her immediately. Kasuga and Todoroki to their surprise, didn't get hit. Or less, they did get hit, but it was only a few scratches, while everybody else got impaled in their arms, legs, and sometimes some of them in their guts. As the shadowy figure would start to float up and leave again. As Todoroki and them would help everybody up, the shadowy figure returned, this time with 4 other people. The notorious Dabi, Toga, and Shigaraki. Miss Aizawa waking up now and deactivating all 4 of their quirks. And knocking them all to the ground because they were floating, so they hit the ground pretty hard. But not hard enough to do major damage. Probably enough to leave some bruises. That's about it. As they fell to the ground, the shadowy figure's hood fell off. As it revealed a green hair. As they see a red-eyed green hair figure. Todoroki and Katsuka are both shocked. Not Shota, but Katsuka says, Deku. He says, miss me, Baku, go. As he, again, charges, him knowing quite a lot of combat. Actually, being able to outmaneuver and outbeat their teacher, Miss Aizawa. And she lost, utterly defeated. She was destroyed. She stood no chance at all. As once he knocked her out, he got his quirk back. And he was finally able to use it. As he started walking, the ground broke under each and every step he took. He's literally able to destroy the world with his amounts of power. As he started to pick up 500-ton chunks of steel and throw it towards people. But he's not aiming to kill any of the students. He's mainly aiming to kill most of the pro heroes there. Now this is around the time Tenya Ida would have gotten Miss All Might. She shows up as fast as she could, looking angrily, then sees who's causing all this destruction. She's shocked with the others as well. She says, young Midoriya, what are you doing? As he starts laughing maniacally. And he says, I'm here to destroy the world. What do you mean? As his eyes glow a bright red. As All Might is thinking that he's being controlled by someone or something. Which she's bent on that. Until he says, oh, and don't worry, Miss All Might. I remember what you told me. As he would start to cry blood. And start freaking everyone out. This is when All Might would say, listen, young Midoriya, I have to stop it. I don't want to hurt you. And he says, you hurt me. I'd love to see you try. He got a major mood swing. This one, Miss All Might would charge really fast, but then realize she can't hit him at all, as she would be caught and lifted up into the air. As a steel pole would be risen up from behind Izuku. Everybody is shocked. This is when Katsuka and Todoroki both scream, no, don't do it, Deku, as he sends a metal pipe straight through the side of All Might. This giving her that big nasty scar as she drops to the floor, bleeding out. But as Deku was leaving, he stopped the blood only as he was there. As he finally left, decided not to kill All Might just to spite or just to show his power that he possesses, to show the heroes that they are nothing to him. Before he left, he snapped back and looked at Katsuka and Todoroki and said, never mind. I was going to tell y'all something, but might as well not. That's for another time. And that's when we'll be leaving off here, folks. Well, hope you guys like, comment, subscribe. And yes, I will be continuing this one. Unlike my last one, I will try my best to keep up with it, as well as my What If Deku Was a Kaiju. So, oh, and yeah, before I go, I want y'all to check out MXR Yotsuba. He started his channel like a week ago, or a couple days ago. And he's released 2 videos so far of a What If Deku Was in a Zombie Apocalypse. They're really good in my opinion. So y'all should go check him out, and I'll see you guys later.